In this video, I will share Kepler's third law of revolution of planets around the Sun. This law is also called law of periods. It states that square of time period of revolution of a planet around the Sun is always directly proportional to cube of semi-major axis of its elliptical orbit. Mathematically, it means t square proportional to a cube. Now let us try to understand what is the meaning of this definition. Suppose this is the elliptical orbit followed by a planet while revolving around the Sun, and this is major axis, this is minor axis. If I suppose major axis of length a 2a, then half of it can be represented by a, and this is the value a which is appearing in this definition, that square of time period of revolution means time within which a planet completes one revolution around the Sun, that is denoted by capital T. Square of this time period is always directly proportional to cube of this semi-major axis. This is the definition of Kepler's third law. And if I give details about this, this is half of the semi-minor axis. It will also be used. This can also be written equal to B. And if I consider Sun to be here and planet to be somewhere here at any instant of time, then this is instantaneous distance between Sun and planet, that is r. And if I look at the diagram, this distance will be the minimum value of r when Sun and planet will be closest to each other, and maximum value of r will be this one, and I will call it r max, r maximum. So this is a brief about Kepler's third law of revolution. I will make use of this same diagram while proving this Kepler's third law. Now let us try to prove this Kepler's third law. For proving Kepler's third law, let us consider general equation of a conic under a central force, because the relations in for motion under central force can be used, because force of gravitation is also a central force. So general equation of a conic can be written as 1 plus epsilon cos theta minus theta naught, where epsilon is representing eccentricity of the conic, theta naught and L are constants. If I compare this equation with the equation of a trajectory under central force, then I can write this is the equation for motion under a central force. So if we compare these two, this is general equation, this is specific equation for motion under central force. If I compare, then L can be written equal to K mu upon L square. L capital is angular momentum, mu is reduced mass, K is constant, and so L can be taken as a constant. Similarly, eccentricity is A L square upon K mu, where A is constant of integration obtained while solving differential equation and motion under central force. Rest everything is a constant. So using this first equation, I can write value of R This equation gives r is equal to 1 upon L into 1 plus epsilon cos theta minus theta naught. From this we can find value of r maximum. It is very much clear r will be maximum when denominator on right hand side is minimum. And it will be minimum if cos is minimum. Value cos is minus 1 upon L into 1 minus epsilon. Putting minimum value of cos, we can get maximum value of r maximum. Similarly, minimum value of r can be obtained from the same relation by putting maximum value of cos, that is plus 1, that is 1 plus epsilon. These are the values of maximum r and minimum r. Now you look at the diagram I have drawn in the starting. That diagram can help us in going further in this proof. From that diagram I can write r maximum plus r minimum is equal to 2 times a. It is very much clear from the diagram. So putting the values of r maximum, r minimum, I can write 1 upon L into 1 plus epsilon. Just I have derived equal to 2a. After simplification, it can give us the value of 1 minus epsilon square. After doing little mathematics, I can find 1 upon LA. Very easy mathematics is there. Now, semi-major axis and semi-minor axis are related to each other by this relation b equal to a into 1 minus epsilon square. This is a mathematical relation between semi-major and semi-minor axis. From here I can find b equal to (1 upon LA) under the root. So after simplification it will give us b is equal to a upon L under the root. This is the value of b. Now I will use this result for proving Kepler's third law of planetary motion. Total area enclosed by ellipse is given by pi a b. This is relation from mathematics. So using this I can write pi a b, just I have found a upon L under the root. This will give us pi under the root a cube upon L. This is the total area enclosed by the ellipse. If t is a time period of revolution of planet around the sun, then aerial velocity can be calculated as dA upon dt. This is aerial velocity, aerial speed, means total area upon total time. Total area, just I have obtained this one, and total time to cover the whole ellipse is t. So I can write 1 upon t. It is pi a cube upon L. Also, we know from Kepler's second law that aerial speed remains constant when a planet is revolving around the sun, and that constant value of aerial speed has been proved to be equal to dA upon dt equal to L upon 2 mu. If I compare the two values of dA upon dt, I can write pi upon t a cube upon L under the root equal to capital L upon 2 mu. Capital L is angular momentum and small l is a constant. After squaring and then simplifying, we can very easily get answer for t square equal to 4 pi square mu a cube upon capital K. I have also used the value of L I gave you in the starting by putting L and squaring both sides. After simplification, you will get this thing. So this is the answer for t square. Here 4 is a constant, pi square constant, mu is a constant, k is also constant. So I can very easily write t square is proportional to cube of a. That is the proof for Kepler's third law of revolution of planets around the sun. That's all. Thank you.